All right, so community resilience, just following on from our personal resilience discussion. This is something that we're, that we both work together on, I suppose, in our community, because it's something that we're really passionate about. Is our community is dealing with a lot at the moment, just like everyone around the world, really, with lots of changes and lots of challenges. And just like with personal resilience, I mean, how can communities collectively deal with some of the traumas or the changes that are happening at the moment? So as a collective, it's quite a different experience, I suppose, going through, a traumatic event as a collective. And you would have experienced that quite significantly in Christchurch, where a whole city of people were severely impacted, and resilience was something that really, that's when it really all gets pushed to the fore, and people are put in positions that they maybe haven't been in before, and have to find, ways of getting through.
Yeah, and it's not unlike now, I think, with our situation we have worldwide. What we naturally want to do is connect with others.
Yeah.
It, like we said before in our previous video about personal resilience, for our nervous system to relax, we need to know that there are other people out there that we can connect with. So to be in isolation is probably one of the more severe punishments. It's just not, especially if we're forced to do so. I mean, that's why people are in what you call it, in a prison cell, when they're solitary confinement. It is a punishment, and it is not the healthiest way for people to be in a community. I think in our community that we've been involved in, Asha, you and I, it's magic how everyone comes with their own skill set, and you see communities just thrive. They just blossom if you allow everyone to step into that own skill set. If you dish out tasks and force people to fulfill these tasks, quite often you have the wrong people in the wrong areas.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to frustration, and certainly doesn't allow any projects to be developed. So yeah. Yes. So I mean, then we talk about personal needs or needs as a community. And what we focused on after the first lockdown was to create food resilience. That was your first suggestion, Asha, and that was very, very important. I think our community, knowing what we have achieved with the crop swaps, knowing that once a month, or now we almost meet every weekend somewhere, that everyone can somehow be looked after. Nobody will starve. I think it's really, really important.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's important to kind of point out that rather than, our work is really, we're try to be ahead of the game rather than be reactive after something already happens. So we're focused on building community resilience in order that when things might come up or will come up, that we are in a better position to be able to weather those things and move through them together intact. So yeah, it's and there's a few obvious areas, like you say, like food and health, and creating a healthy culture where people are connected, where they feel safe and welcome. All of that is just so important. And I think something that I've learned along the way in this journey is, you know, like a lot of people, you start out with this vision of self-sufficiency. You know, I'm going to move on to a bit of land and I'm going to do it all myself and I'm going to be self-sufficient, which is beautiful and that's empowering. But you eventually, I think you get to that point where you really understand the power and the value of community, and that we can't do everything alone, nor should we want to, because it's nowhere near as much fun. So, you know, there's being aware that having valuable relationships and a healthy community that supports each other is just, you know, it just makes you feel like you could, you know, no matter what happens, that you will take care of each other and you'll just do your best for each other. And, you know, and if we can focus on these key areas, that if something happens in the way of a food shortage, then we have those connections, and we've been doing that work, you know, in order to be able to provide for each other and for ourselves in the best way that we know how, and also building those lasting relationships along the way, so that when or if something does happen that is so overwhelming, you know, and really does kind of pull the carpet out from underneath us, you know, if that happens, that we still have solid foundations within our relationships, and we feel more prepared and more set up to be able to deal with things. Yeah.
So right. So very right. The you know, one of my favorite people to listen to is or read is Charles Eisenstein, and he, in one of his books, he talks about the term interdependence, where we have to. So that's his term, and what I'm saying now is my own thoughts. I think we have to allow ourselves again to depend on others. Yeah, I mean, I'm a very independent person, and it's not easy to ask for help to start with, but also allow yourself to fall into that and fall back on others, because they are the experts in their field, and where it in our human evolution, where that has become I don't know, where we have stepped away from that, is when services that we should naturally provide for each other became paid services. Yeah. Babysitting, you know, or retirement homes, and all these are now paid services, and maybe we can get back to providing this for each other, you know, instead of I don't know, this is a big jump in thought here, but instead of all of us going out and making as much money as possible so we can pay for stuff, maybe we don't have to work so many hours if we do things for each other again, and rely. This interdependence, I think it is something that can in a community.
We've very much, I mean, the modern Western journey really has been one of independence, of individualism, of separation, and now we're kind of coming full circle, you know, back around to recognizing the value of a lot of things that perhaps, as you said, have become commodities, but have left us kind of empty. So yeah, bringing it back around and recognizing That's one of the beautiful things about the time bank is recognizing people's value, and that what they have to offer might not necessarily be a skill that equates to, you know, thousands of $100,000 job, but it's still valuable, you know, it's still valuable. And when some of these other things are being stripped away as they are, you know, that they really, it becomes obvious, I think, at that point that your community may in the end be all you have. You know, so being able to rely on each other, and also I think taking responsibility back to our local areas, back to our local communities, rather than giving away responsibility for a lot of these things and then being not satisfied in the way that they're conducted. You know, so bringing it home and actually together working on some of these greater social issues as well. I think that's where a lot of the solutions are really to be genuinely found, rather than patched over.
Big amazing amazing thoughts that we exchange here, but yes, it's just so important. You can see resilience. You mentioned the earthquakes before, so people naturally holding together and sticking together, how much quicker they bounce back. With us here, with what we're building within the in our little community here in Northland, has been amazing. You can see, you notice that, you know, people have their whole nervous system relaxes, right? So they arrive at the crop swap and they just go, you know, there are hugs and people just enjoying each other's company. And what do you think of the relation of between resilience and freedom? What do you think of that? Just quickly touching on that. Does increased resilience, community resilience, does that give you a sense of freedom?
Absolutely. I think when you're dependent, it's kind of the opposite of, you know, resilient in some ways. It's when you are dependent on someone or something for your well-being or for your health, like the state, for example, you know, increased dependency. It's quite different with the community, because I feel like those relationships, those interpersonal relationships with people within my community are genuine, and there's a genuine level of care there about me as an individual, as opposed to that, you know, other relationship with someone who may be being paid to care for you, or who you get a professional service from, or who might be a government authority. So I absolutely firmly value, you know, beyond words, really, the fact that this is a free will zone, you know, and that we are here, you know, to experience this world as we see fit, as long as we do no harm to others, you know, and that is our right. That's, and it might not be a right that everybody values as much as, you know, others, but it's so incredibly fundamental to being able to have integrity, you know, in your decision making of your life. In navigating your own issues, and then on a greater community scale, having the, what's the right word, the agency over, you know, your environment and your culture that you create, and rather than being dictated to. And that's where creativity lies, in that, you know, in that realm, you know, not in a highly controlled realm, you know, that's where innovation and creativity go to die. So as long as we, you know, and I have to say that in terms of community resilience, community cohesion, what we have discussed many times is values. what do we value? And there's something I'll share at a later time, would be the Transition Towns original group vision for 2030. They had this incredible foresight to put together this beautiful vision of how they wanted to be living. And many of the things that they wrote down are like trust in provision, trust that you'll be provided for, beauty in the arts, you know, good governance and administration, living beyond fear. You know, so many of these things I think really speak to the time that we're living in now, and the fact that our community had the foresight to put a stake in the future and say, this is what we want to create, you know, no matter what is going on out here and what we're being told how we have to be and all of this. Well, here we are, and here's what we value, and this is what we're going to actually work towards and move towards. So I think that's quite a profound thing that we'll get to share with everybody later on, is that map that they created for us.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and I think woven through that, really through all of that, is community resilience, you know, and it's never you know, none of this is ever easy or straightforward, or, you know, there's it's a tapestry, you know, and there's lots of different things involved, and it's the process, and being able to not get stuck on any one point, and being able to just keep coexisting together, and knowing that that's probably the most important thing, is that we can coexist together and support each other.
Yeah, and that is for me excuse me, that's for me the definition of well-being. That is true health, you know, when we live like that. And that is probably in, you know, in resilient communities, there is such an abundance of health as well, vibrant health through that, you know.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's when people are able to shine. You know, when there's no, when they are supported, and when they're encouraged, and yeah, when there's a solid foundation that we can always go back to, is one of respect, you know, and one of understanding that we are all different, and that is not a bad thing. That's a great thing. Because if we were all the same, what a boring world it would be.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Awareness. I think the just noticing others as well. And it's funny, like when you are in crisis as an individual, you detach from others. You don't have an awareness of the other person anymore. You just go inward, and so to reconnect is just the key to your own, to returning to your own health and well-being, and then have greater resilience. So let's aim for many, many resilient communities, Asha.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll have to get some of our other friends involved in some more discussions on this, because I know that they're working on so many other exciting and interesting things that would be good to share with people. Oh, well, thank you again, my friend, for another awesome discussion. Yeah, and we'll connect again soon, and just keep rolling on. So if anyone has any topics or particular ideas that they want to suggest to us, feel free to pop something in the comments, and yeah, we'll see you again another time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Bye, Asha.
Bye.